from tired to thriving, from silence to song. With YDC, you belong. Let's start living, rise again. You are more than just a pain. Confident, bold, unashamed. Your discovery coach, remember the name. You're strong, you're seen, you're free to dream. YDC, 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 remember the name. Hey mama, you're more than enough. Hey mama, stand tall, you've given so much. You gave your all, now it's time to shine. You've been in the shadows, now step in the light. Rediscover your voice, take back your name. You're not just a mom, your power, your flame. From tired to thriving, from silence to song. With YDC, you belong. Let's start living.
Yes, and let's start living, rise again. Hey, mamas, let's start living. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me on another Friday Live. I'm so excited to be here on another Friday Live. How has your week been? Let me just ask, how have you been? It's just been a long week for me, but yeah, it's Friday, and I'm glad to be here with you on a Friday. It's the highlight of my week. Some people start their weeks on Monday. I start my week on a Friday because I'm here live and excited to be with you. So today we're going to be looking at the act of self-respect, living with internal standards and not just external permission. One thing I would want us to take away from here is that self-respect is the bridge between knowing your worth and living like it. That's what self-respect is. We've been doing the mastery series, and so this is the week 5 of our mastery series, building from wholeness. And today, the conversation shifts. It's UK weather, sorry. And today the conversation shifts. We've talked about peace, or we've built peace. We've reclaimed our energy. We've set boundaries. We've set sacred boundaries, and we've learned embodied confidence. And today we're going to be seeing something really important on our journey to becoming, and that's self-respect. It's not the self-respect of Instagram worthy version, just or a quote you say here and there and then you forget. It's something that you live. It's something that you do in your day, something that you embody. It's not just it's not how you talk about things. It's how you rearrange your relationships. It's how you come across in your relationships, how you rearrange it. Your decisions, the kind of decisions you make, are they decisions that show that you respect yourself? And it's not respect yourself like just respect yourself, or no, it's the self-respect that comes in your decisions, in your posture, in your voice, in your entire life. And let's see how that how that plays. Self-respect is the end of self-negotiation. It's the end of shrinking for access, and it's also the end of betraying yourself to be loved. Betraying yourself to be loved. It's the end of it. You're not going to be negotiating with yourself as if you don't have anything to gain in that negotiation. Your negotiation with yourself will be different. The way you show up for yourself will be different. The way even so a lot of times it's easy, right? Especially if you're healing from childhood trauma and all that. It's easy to shrink yourself just because you want other people to have access to you. It's easy, it's very easy, and sometimes it's automatic. It's just you're not thinking about it. You start to shrink yourself. You start to shrink your own desires just because, oh, if I'm too much now, this person will leave, or if I'm too much now, they would I would offend this person. It's easy to become a person pleaser. So when you have self-respect, it marks the end of betraying yourself just to be loved. You're no longer fighting for love. You're loved. You accept yourself, and anybody who doesn't love you, it's on them. It's not on you. So let's see how this plays out. I've always told my story about when I realized that I had given my power to someone else. When I was playing small, I've always told that story of one day I just said, no, this thing is not right. right? This relationship is not right. This transactions between this person and I is not right. It was a question of what we call in Nigeria see finish. And then it made me realize that when did I trade my power? Being taking care of kids, being a mother does not mean that I needed to trade my power to other people. And I remember that day clearly, and it came from that sense of conditioning. We've been conditioned from childhood, conditioned to believe that goodness means self neglect. If you're a good wife, you need to sacrifice yourself. And there was something we used to say when I used to hear when I was growing up. You say teacher's reward is in heaven, and it's more or less like that, being a mom, right? You're saying, oh, your reward is in heaven, so do everything for everybody, stretch yourself, sacrifice yourself. But goodness does not also mean self-neglect. You're conditioned to believe that humility means shrinking. That thing that you just bow, you just want to be invisible. That's not humility. That's just shrinking yourself. You're not able to look eye to eye with someone and say, okay, this is what I think, this is what I feel. But being agreeable does not mean that being agreeable in all things does not mean that you're humble. Conditioned to believe that endurance means tolerating respect. So many people stay in relationships that they have no business staying in. Somebody is constantly disrespectful to you. Someone is constantly, talking you down, but you just feel, I'm getting my bread and butter from this place, or I'm getting some sort of emotional support from this place. Not I keep saying, if you have friends that you need to be on eggshells around, they don't know your boundaries, they can't keep boundaries, you can't keep boundaries with them. That's not friendship, it's dysfunction. It's dysfunction. I understand when it's a couple, it may be harder to just walk away, and that's not what I'm preaching here. But you, as a woman who knows her worth, as a woman who knows who she is, self-respect is that thing that says, I'm no longer negotiating who I am to become any other person, to accept these people in my life. I'm no longer, relationships that there's constant bickering, there's constant fighting. It's not healthy for you. And then self-respect demands from you that you move away from such things. So let's go on. Let's go on. It's not that that person lacks self-respect, I mean self-worth. What the person lacks, the person who is bending over, what the person actually lacks is called self-respect. And you cannot have the life you desire while living in the behaviors that you've outgrown. So there are, you've been on this journey, right? You've been listening, you've been trying to heal and everything. There are behaviors that you can't go on into. If you don't stop the behaviors that you have outgrown. You can't be a people pleaser and tell me that you want to become great in life. It doesn't work that way. You cannot be able to set boundaries and say that you want to walk into that woman that God has created you to become. Self-respect is not a personality trait. It's a spiritual, emotional, and behavioral discipline. So what is self-respect really? Self-respect is identity hygiene. It's how you clean the dirt of old wounds off your identity. There's some people you meet on your journey or in your life, and they are constantly referring to something that you have done years ago. They knew you when you were growing up. They knew your struggles when you were growing up. They knew your past. They know you. They feel like they know you. But what they don't also realize is that people grow. People outgrow behaviors. People change. People, evolve. But every time they see you, they're constantly reminding you of your old identity. Constantly. Oh, I used to know you when you were this. I used to know you when you were that. Constantly. They cannot bear with the fact that you have outgrown that person that they knew 10 years ago. They can't they can't come. In fact, they even say you are just pretending, or is it not you? I know this person. I know somebody. I was talking to somebody one day, and the person said, I knew this person. And what she was referring to of the knowing the person was 10 or 15 years ago of the person's life. And I said, are you a joker? 10 to 15 years ago, do you realize that this person That was her past. Even though I didn't also believe what she was saying about the person. I was like, that's the person's past. That's the person's past. You cannot latch on to someone's past and decide this is what I'm going to believe about this person. This is I'm going to hold on to it. So self-respect is identity hygiene. It's how you clean the old wounds of your identity. So yes, when people come to you, so when people come to you and say, "Oh, you've changed, though. You're now outspoken." Yes, yes, I am. I'm not ashamed of who I'm becoming. I am not ashamed of, speaking up. I used to be quiet. I used to feel, I used to shrink just to accommodate people into my life. So that I'm no longer that person. Identity hygiene demands that I clean off those old wounds of my identity. you know People might say, oh, now you're being a, when it can't get the way around you anymore, they say things like you're being difficult. What does that even mean? You're being difficult. Clean the old wounds of your identity, the old attachments, and be proud and be bold about who you're becoming, and be unapologetic about it. Self-respect is you saying, I refuse to live by that script anymore. So you're not seeing somebody who hasn't seen you in a while, and then you are now telling yourself, let me not tell this person that, let me act in the way that I used to act before, so that they will not say I've upgraded. That's an error. You need to be able to have an identity hygiene. People change, and we are permitted to evolve. We are permitted to change. We're permitted to outgrow behaviors that no longer serve us. We're permitted to, to to self-actualize. We are permitted to. So when you're actually doing this work, and you're actually doing the things that you're supposed to do, tell yourself that I refuse, and I refuse to live by the old scripts anymore. That's the first point of self-respect. Self-respect is emotional governance. It's the ability to tell the truth about how you feel without collapsing, exploding, or apologizing. It's the ability to tell the truth about how you feel without collapsing, exploding, or apologizing. Over exaggerate, we say emotions are data, but you don't also need to over exaggerate. You don't also need to, collapse who you are just because something happened. It's emotional governance. It's knowing that this thing happened for a reason, for a time, and it can pass. It can and it will. Having the capacity to say, okay, this hurt me, but I'm not dwelling here. It's that dwelling that takes you on that long journey. You see that time you've used to dwell. You see the emotions the energy that you leak on dwelling on hurt. That's where the problem comes from. You're dwelling on it. It hurts me. I don't like what you've done. It's just being plain back. I don't like what you have done. And then let's set the boundaries for this type of behavior. And you move on. You're able to say things like, this doesn't honor me. I can't show up for this type of activity unapologetically. This doesn't honor me. This doesn't honor the woman that I am becoming. I can't show up for this type of conversations. You should be able to shut people up from conversations that don't serve you. That's self-respect. You're respecting yourself. Because when you don't teach people how to treat you, they will treat you how they treat themselves, and it might not be in a respectful way, or they will treat you with a mindset that they are carrying, and that mindset might not suit the woman that you are becoming. You should be able to say, self-respect means that you should be able to say things like, I'm no longer available for this kind of conversations. There's certain conversations, people come into your DM and they want to rant and they want to complain. But you know that that's complaining, that ranting, especially if it's about another person, drains your energy. So you say, oh, I'm not available. That's self-respect. You're saying what it is that you want. You're not being dramatic about it. It's just a statement. Okay, I'm no longer available for this kind of conversation. We shouldn't be having these conversations. Thank you and have a good day. No over explaining, no collapse, no exploding, you don't even owe them an apology. I'm sorry. Yes, you don't. You don't owe an apology for what it is for the journey that you're living. You don't owe them an apology. Self-respect is also your behavior. People don't believe your worth from your words, they believe it from your behavioral boundaries. Let me say that again. Self respect is your behavior. People don't believe your worth from your words, they believe it from your behavioral boundaries. Now, if you do things like, let's give examples. If if you leave the table when respect leaves the room, they know that you mean business when it comes to self-respect. Or you're with a group of people, you're sat on the table, people are talking, and then all of a sudden words start flying. I'm not on this table anymore. I move away. They start to see from your behavior that you're not here for nonsense. You start to make statements with your behavior, or not repeating yourself more than once. I just hear me and hear me clearly. Not you're not trying to explain. You see, that thing about trying to explain why also removes that respect from the table. You're not apologizing for taking space. Sorry, hello, Kinde, hello. Edu Learning Consult. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday live. You say sorry. I have the right to take up space without apologizing. You show up like you own the room. Self I apologize. I don't know. I had a glitch in my system. You don't take tolerate inconsistency from yourself. So self-respect says that I wanted to be waking up every day at 5 to do my exercise, to read my book, to do whatever it is. I respect myself enough to show up every day because I have said it. I'm a woman of honor. I'm a woman that honors her word. Even her words to herself, I honor it. That's self-respect. Self-respect also, as a behavior says, I will not need to explain myself. I will not need to explain what is already clear. It's already clear. I'm not going to stand here and start explaining. You see that over explanation, overthinking over explanation, it has a way of eroding your self-respect. There are people that your wait, people need to learn that I have these boundaries. I don't need to over explain why these boundaries exist. Self-respect is the end of self-negotiation. Every time you lower your standard, you teach your nervous system that your needs don't matter. So I want you to know that every behavior that you are imbibing teaches your body, teaches your brain, teaches your nervous system one thing or the other. Oh, this is we don't play, but this is how we do it. Today we are on, tomorrow we're off, tomorrow we're on, tomorrow we're off. There's no consistency, there's no coherence, there's no there's no pathway that has been formed. So you see why you're doing yourself a disservice when you become inconsistent about your goals, about your behavior. You're setting so much internal confusion, and that's why those things don't stick. That's why you start something and you can't finish. That's why those things don't stick. Don't teach your nervous system that your needs don't matter. Don't teach your nervous system to do guesswork. You have what it takes to say, I want to show up for myself, and I will show up for myself. I will show up. I keep an appointment with yourself, like I always say, right? So I want us to reflect right now and just think as we're listening that areas where you may have abandoned yourself. I'm not it's not for judgment. It's just when you start to see, there's something awareness does for you, right? There's something awareness does when you start to see where it may look like you've abandoned yourself. You are able to take action, to bridge that gap. I want you to think about things like, where do I override my own needs? I have a need, daily consistency. Yes, I have a need, right? Where do I override my own needs? Where did I tolerate what dishonored me? Somebody, walks into your DM and says something to you, and then you kept quiet. Where did you, even my children now, I tell them I refuse to be spoken to in that manner. You will speak to me with respect, I will speak to you with respect. I also have to remember to speak to them with respect, but sometimes my Nigerian upbringing comes in. But yes, I say in this house we speak to each other with respect. If you speak to me in that manner, I cannot respond to your response, I cannot respond to your request, because I refuse to be spoken to like this. Yes, set your boundaries. It's even with your kids, and it's fine. I refuse to. If somebody is talking to you and you want full attention, you demand for the full attention. Please put your phone down and let's have this conversation. I'm not a side person. I'm not a side project. I'm a full project, a full project. I'm a full human. Give me the attention that I need. You can demand for it, right? So where have, just thinking about it, where in your journey have you abandoned yourself? Have you tolerated what dishonors you? Where have you been performing goodness instead of living truth? What is the price you pay for keeping access to people who drain you? When you keep your access, when people who drain you have constant access to you, what's the price they are paying? They have constant access to you, they are draining you. They're draining you. On your journey to becoming something tangible in your life, these people may not have a place except they change. But you keep the access open. Why? You're afraid of being alone. You're afraid of losing friendships. You're afraid of what? It's a valid fear. Some people have been in your life for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's okay. It's a valid fear. But you know that every time you leave that conversation with them, you are drained. What are you doing there? And whose approval am I still enslaved to? There's some people that you just want their approval. You just want them to say yes to you. You just want them to nod their head to you. When they frown, you don't feel good. When they are happy, you feel good. Whose approval are you still enslaved to? Who has your mumu button? Whose approval are you still enslaved to? Self-respect begins when self-abandonment ends. Yes, you're going to have people over you that have a say over your life. No, that's not what we're talking about. People who can call you to order, that's not what we're talking about. But we're saying that you abandon yourself just to fit into a group that you don't belong to, or fit into a friendship that is not mutually beneficial, or it's not going anywhere, or that this person is constantly draining me, that this situation is constantly draining me. Even our addiction to social media is not, that compulsive need to check. You're eroding your self-respect, because those things are not growing you. Constant your addition to gossip online, and things like that, they're not growing you. They're not growing you. You're eroding your self-respect. You're eroding the things that will help you grow. You're eroding your person. It's when you have too many voices, everybody has a say in your brain, everybody has a say in your mind. Who are you really? Have you found out who you are? Are you so afraid of having a little time to yourself, 5-10 minutes to yourself, just to think about your own thoughts? Do you know your thought patterns? Do you know who you are? Right. So there are 5 dimensions to self-respect. We have the psychological self-respect, ending self-negotiation. Is the mind, this one is the mind layer. It's the decision to stop bargaining with your own worth. You have to just decide, I'm no longer bargaining with my own worth. No more explaining disrespect. No more shrinking desires. No more softening your truth. You say how you feel, you move on from it. No more maybe where there is clarity. You're not living in that space of constant doubt, right? You're not, should I not. You've called like five people to ask them is about your business idea. You've asked like 7 5 people. It's not like you've gone to ask your mentor, no, but you've asked them, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? At the end of the day, there's a confusion of voices. You stop the self-negotiation. You stop to bargain your own words. You stop to bargain who you really are. You lose your self-respect one small self-negotiation at a time. There's an emotional self-respect. This is emotional adulthood, feeling deeply without abandoning yourself. You see, sometimes some things happen There's a book I love to read. I absolutely love to read, and it's designing your own mind. And he had so much, so much. He had a particular chapter that talked about emotions and maturity and all that. And that book really blew my mind. It's not that bad things don't happen. It's not like you wouldn't feel the effect of losing someone or being hurt. But when he went the way he went about that emotional, this I'll call it emotional adulthood. You're not abandoning yourself just because you feel defeated by life. You're not abandoning yourself just because some misfortune has happened. And every time I read that particular part of his emotional thing, I remember Paul in the Bible. I know that Paul was a bit extreme for a lot of people, but Paul was beaten, he was battered, and the Bible said he stood up immediately, took up his gathered himself and went to the next city to preach. This was somebody that was just beaten. And I was asking myself, if nobody turns up, if nobody's clapping for you, if something happens to you, can you go on? What's your resilience quotient? How When something happens, how many hours or days or months do you stay feeling down and feeling defeated? You can't go far like that. Just without being able to bounce back as fast as possible is very hard. And every passing emotion finds a place to anchor inside you. It's a very difficult and long journey because a lot of things will happen in this life. People will talk, people will say, you would have them, that everything will not be smooth. But when you don't reach that emotional adulthood, it's very difficult for you to have this concept of self-respect. It's very difficult because you will stay in moods, you will stay in feelings, you will stay defeated for a long time. And those things drain energy. It drains energy. Anything that drains your energy drains your life. Anything that drains your energy drains your life. You're not constantly chasing closure. You're not constantly begging for clarity. You're not constantly absorbing blame. Something happens, you've made a mistake, and it's fine. Everybody makes mistake, but you stay there. You tell yourself that this was my fault. Had it been, if I had, I should have done this differently. You spend hours agonizing about the mistake, blaming yourself for things. It's not a way to it's a way to just erode your self-respect. You start to be in situations where you're not able to just rise and go. Naming emotions without you're able when you reach that emotional adulthood, you're able to name your emotions without drowning in them, and that's a very important skill to have. Self-respect is the ability to speak truth without trembling. Next, the next dimension of self-respect that we're going to be looking at is behavioral self-respect. Standards in motion. Standards are not beliefs, they are behaviors. For example, you walk away calmly, you refuse inconsistency, you are not allowing confused communication. Be clear about what you're saying. You're not you're not you're able to end access that violates your peace. So you can mentally block someone or physically if you like, but one you're not allowing a constant. You see, there's some situations that constantly drain you. Somebody is constantly getting offended with you. Someone, she says she's your friend, but you're constantly settling one problem or the other. Is draining. But you see, behavioral self-respect says, I can do without this. Right now in the journey that I am going, I don't need this stress. I don't need this stress. Behavioral self-respect comes as you're not begging, you're not explaining, you're not auditioning, you're not walking around eggshells. You know yourself enough to walk with your full feet, your 2 feet firm on the ground. People don't disrespect you first. You disrespect yourself by allowing repeated access. When you allow repeated access, it's you that has started. So it's not that they started disrespecting you. You allowed it. You allowed the disrespect with continuous access. Identity self-respect is the next one. You would live is the place where you live like you matter. You live like you matter. You live like the woman that you're becoming. You say you're a healthy woman, you live like a healthy woman. You say you are a woman who, who has risen, she's rising for her children, she's doing things, she's showing up. You live like her. You live like her. You start to, live like the woman that you are becoming. What Ask yourself things like, what would the future version of you no longer tolerate? You start now. I did something this morning when I woke up, and I was just like, what does the 50 or 60-year-old version of Debbie want to see? You stop tolerating the nonsense now. You start to live like you are, like the identity that you are saying that you are. What will she choose? How will she respond? Self-respect is an identity upgrade. It's not see finish. Anybody who decides that, okay, this is a see finish matter, you are able to set boundaries around them. Because sometimes it may look like it doesn't matter, but these things seep into our lives. They seep into our day. So you're able to cut off the things that erode your self-respect. Somatic self-respect, that's the fifth dimension, respecting your body. Your body is the first place self-respect disappears, and the first place it must return. Signs of somatic self-respect include shrinking shoulders. When you come into a room now, you walk tall with your shoulders square. You're not shrinking your shoulders anymore. You're able to breathe deeply. You're not panting for breath. That laughter that comes as nervousness. You're just just because you don't want them. That laughter that is in the laughter is shrinking. You desist from nervous laughter. You desist from avoiding eye contact. You can hold a conversation with somebody and have eye contact with them, shake firmly. That feeling of fear that comes in your chest as your chest is tight, collapsed posture. You're walking, but you're constantly slouched. You need to watch out for these things. That's a mark of lack of self-respect in your own body. You're walking, you're constantly slouching, you're constantly dropping your shoulders, you're constantly just bowing. There's bowing your head, not because you're trying to greet somebody older, but let's just hide. Let's just hide. So from today, I want you to start to do something. Straighten your spine, sit down straight, sit down tall, sit down. No, don't slouch. Slouching is a very subtle sign that there's something wrong about your posture, even from how you think about yourself. You're bowed. Don't straighten your spine. Drop your square shoulders. Don't come into a room and act like you don't matter. Breathe deeply. Tell your body, I will not betray you today. The way you carry yourself is also a sign of how you are respecting yourself or you're disrespecting yourself. So I'm going to do a final teaching on self-respect reset. Say things like, I will no longer explain myself repeatedly. I will no longer accept inconsistent communication. I will no longer shrink to keep the peace. I will no longer tolerate emotional chaos. First of all, it's from you. I will no longer extend access to people who misuse it. You can do it. You tell yourself things like that. I will no longer explain myself repeatedly. Why do I need to keep explaining myself? So from today, write down and decide for yourself what it is that you're going to protect, what it is about your space that you're going to protect. Self-respect is not built in the big moments. It's built in those micro decisions. Somebody walks up to you, the way you teach people how to talk to you, you teach people what respect means like to you. It's in the micro decisions. It's in the micro decisions. So today you can choose one act of self-respect. You can end a draining conversation if it comes to you. You can say no calmly. You can ask for what you need. For what you need, ask for what you need. You can stop over explaining. You can remove yourself from disrespect, and you can also rest without feeling guilty. It was going to be a very short class. It was supposed to be 30 minutes. And with that, I've come to an end of the class. But I want you to see our 90 days becoming her program starting in January 12. Sometimes these things look like they're so easy to do. Sometimes it looks like it's something, sometimes you just need that container, that's community. You need a hand to help you to see your blind spots. So with our 90 days becoming her program, we're going to be dealing in depth with these things. As you tell your stories, as you do the prompts, it's a container where we go deep and we talk about these things in depth. So it's going to be starting on the 12th of January. It's £49 for those who are paying in pounds, and it's 4,000 naira for those who are paying in naira. Our seller link is on the YouTube description for this video. And sometimes you just need that hand. You just literally need that hand to show you. It may seem like, oh, it's just standing up and saying no, but these things are rooted in behaviors that stem from so many years of conditioning, so many years of emotional mapping, being able to map your own emotions, to see the reasons why you do the things you do. You need that hand. You need that hand to help you. So this is just my call to you as I round off. Protect your peace. Refuse to negotiate your worth. Refuse to shrink. Don't beg for attention. Don't betray yourself. Raise your standards and let your standards rise with your identity. Become a woman of dignity, clarity, and truth. And join us on our 90 Days of Becoming Her program, because we're going to be dealing with these things in depth. We're going to be seeing these things, how these things play out in our everyday life, in our daily decisions, and in the things that we say or don't say. And till I meet you next week, hey mamas, let's start living. Thank you so much. I don't take your time for granted. I don't take your engagement for granted, and I will be seeing you next week.
Hey mama, you're more than enough. Hey mama, stand tall, you've given so much. You gave your all, now it's time to shine. You've been in the shadows, now step in the light. Rediscover your voice, take back your name. You're not just a mom, your power, your flame. From tired to thriving, from silence to song, with a wide